Hey there, risers and thrivers. And it's so lovely to be here with all of you today. So I see some friends here, but for those of you who don't know me, my name is Janine, and I am the creator and host of the podcast called On the Up and Up. And the reason I created this podcast was to encourage critical conversations, to amplify the untold stories and achievements of the underrepresented and underestimated, and also inspire visionaries to pursue their dreams, whatever that may be. The podcast has mainly been focused around entrepreneurship and startups, but everyone has other dreams as well, so it's not only to that specifically. And today is actually quite special, so you guys probably don't know this, but for me, this is the kickoff of season 3, actually. Yeah, this will be episode 18, which is wild to say. And also, I really wanted to say a huge thank you to House of Color for hosting us here at this amazing space, this really cozy space that you all got to enjoy. Grace, thank you so much for your support with the sound. Tariq, Julie, as always, social media, branding, everything. And also to all of you for being here, participating in the activity beforehand, participating in this conversation that we're about to have. It really means a lot to both of us. And of course, I also wanted to say a huge thank you to you as well, Sharlene.
Thank you.
This really kicked off because of you, actually. She reached out to me, I guess it was back in May, over Instagram and email, and my friends know I don't answer things very quickly, so it took a little while. And then she was saying like, hey, I've got these intimacy cards, and if you don't know me, I'm like, intimacy, well, I don't know about that. I was like, what kind of Berlin freaky deaky stuff is this? So I was like, let me go on the internet and do some sleuthing first, and then I was like, okay, seems pretty normal. Then we got on a call, and one thing I can say about you is you really radiate so much positivity and so much fun, and you immediately put me at ease. So I was like, okay, she seems pretty dope. Why don't I have a conversation? And then you invited me to your event. And I remember walking in there by myself being like, and I saw something about physical intimacy. I'm like, I like my bubble. Don't get in my bubble. But it ended up being a really fun experience for me. And I had such a blast. And I'm so glad that we could do this again together. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for having the courage to come as well, the first time, and even participate a second time.
Yes. Means a lot. And for all of you who don't know Sharlene, Sharlene is an artist, an entrepreneur, and above all else, a connector. And this is really something that haven't known you for very long, but I've seen you really put the effort into fostering meaningful connections and also redefining intimacy, which is such a loaded term with so much connotation behind it. So yeah, I think even just to get this conversation started before, is there anything you want to add?
Well, thank you guys all for coming. And I think this space is a new space, the House of Color, and it's even a new space for them as they have just moved. And it feels so good, like the vibe, the art. I love pillows. If you know me, I love pillows, and they have so many pillows. And I really just felt the energy in the room, and I appreciate everyone for participating and being open. And I'm really looking forward to hearing maybe from some of you about your experience.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, maybe we even jump into that specific question. How was this experience for all of you, actually? Did you come in with any pre-ideas of what you were going to experience? I see someone nodding right there. Does anyone, you can even just shout it out. You don't have to be put on the spot, but how did you feel?
Yeah, I'm curious if you had expectations and then you were like, oh, that wasn't so bad.
Not from Berlin, visiting, just found this on Eventbrite, thought would be cool, would like to replicate this back where I live in Birmingham, UK, sadly, people don't mix a lot. Yeah, I'll discuss more on that later.
Yes, I'm looking for, I want to spread this far and wide in all cities and looking for people to do it.
Yeah, I'd be down.
Nice.
Dope. Are there any other opinions or anything that anyone wants to share?
It was refreshing. It was really refreshing to connect, and I actually had a conversation regarding COVID, and I think it was really special, especially for a lot of people who become more secluded and more introverted, to go back out and just start conversations and actually have a hook to start conversations on. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. Just as a segue, I kind of made the cards during COVID and thought, I felt myself a little fearful of being close to people physically, and also we were so isolated that I felt like intimacy cards needed to happen. And of course, I only just launched them last year, at the end of last year, on a Kickstarter campaign.
We unpack that. We all know COVID was a really isolating experience, but what was the catalyst for you to say, actually, I need to make this? And then what was that process of actually creating the cards?
It started with the art. As an artist, I've always been quite digital in my creations through graphic design and photography. And so during COVID, I was like, I just need to draw. I need to paint. I want to explore just with my hands. We have the time. And my roommate at the time was like, you should make a deck of cards. And I don't know if any of you know about the 36 questions to fall in love. It was an article in the New York Times. And
there,
yeah. There's some hands up. And this was such an interesting thing because it was just really simple questions. And they gradually got deeper and deeper. And then they ended with an eye gaze, which I think kind of, I never heard of an eye gaze at the time. And it was quite new. And so this made me think that if we just ask questions, we could get closer. And it doesn't have to be between couples. We can all get closer with strangers. And this was really important for me. So I wanted to make a deck of intimacy cards, but I didn't want to just, I wanted it to be out in the world. So I started a business.
May I ask, actually, why did you choose to call it Intimacy Cards? Because this is completely going off script, but it's such a loaded word. Like, there's so much behind it. So why would you choose that? Because that was initially why I was looking. Scared, I was like, no, thank you. I'm good.
I went back and forth thinking like, it's so generic. But then I got intimacycards.com and I was like, well, I mean, if it's still available, then this market must not be saturated. I was thinking like SEO, like this has got to be. That
was a business mind right there. She's like, I see an opportunity.
Yeah, and so I really did though think about this, and I can't trademark it because it's descriptive, but so I do have like a little offset. Like if you look on the box, it says 121 projects. And I figured this could be a way to, when I do other decks of cards in the future, then it can be all part of like 121 projects. But yeah, I really believe in redefining intimacy because I know it's a euphemism for sex. It's something that makes people uncomfortable. But I like to say that my cards are like practice cards or flashcards for intimacy, and they're like baby steps for people who have a hard time, which I would say growing up, I didn't grow up with a lot of hugs and I love yous and all this stuff. I have a Chinese mother who's like, I cooked for you, this is love. And I believe this. This is my love language is acts of service, probably influenced by my mother. And yeah, it wasn't until I had really close friendships that my friends would be like, I love you. And they'd be more affectionate, more physical. And I felt like this, and maybe this is why I've created the cards more for people to meet on a friend level, on a more platonic level, because I think this is a little more accessible and also a pathway to opening up to deeper connections in general, creating community, which we need.
Definitely. You know what's interesting about this is when I met you, I think I didn't even realize that intimacy was a euphemism for sex. I just thought intimacy meant that. So literally. And then I went online and I looked up the term intimacy, like my dictionary notes out here, and it means close familiarity or friendship, a cozy and private or relaxed atmosphere. And then the third one in there is the euphemism for sexual intimacy. And so it was one of those things where I had this aha moment because it's like what you just said with friendships, right? One of my friends here, actually Patrick, I remember, I don't think you've ever noticed this, but sometimes we'll finish a phone call and he'll be like, I love you. And I remember the first time I heard him say that, I was like, all right, have a nice night. I don't even think I've returned it into this point, right? Love you so, but you know.
The first time
you all witnessed to it. But it really threw me off because it's one of those things where I think it's also for me, it's not growing up in those environments, but it translates into everything. It's not only friendships, it also translates into your professional life as well. How do you, I know I used to talk about hating networking events. Like, how do you kick off a conversation? Because it always felt super superficial. It felt like I was in an exchange for something else, right? But when you take that to, okay, I just want to meet you where you're at or at a deeper level, it brings a completely different connotation to the term. And that's been a very interesting experience to me because I think I've only been really thinking about this topic since you've brought it to my table. And now I'm like, oh, wow, I had so much stigma and everything around it. So I'm really glad that you got this started, actually.
Cool. Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah. And one thing I want to dive into a bit more is why turn it into a business, actually, right? Because you could have just created questions, enjoyed them with your friends, and that would have been that. Why turn it into something larger? And I'm still curious, the printing, the getting the questions, like it's a lot of effort. So how did you go through that process, actually?
Well, I wanted to make money.
Fair enough.
I am an artist and I want to get paid eventually. No, that's not the number one reason, but it is true. Buy my cards. But no, I do believe in connecting people. It's my flow. It's what I love. It's my purpose. It sounds really cheesy. I don't know. I don't like a lot of woo things often, even though I'm probably quite woo-woo. I don't see myself as woo-woo. So saying it's my purpose, I just think I've done so many things and it's all led up to this. And so I believe in it. And also, I'm going to have to say, my mother, again, very tough woman, never supported any of my artistic endeavors, was always like, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. And never you should do the thing that you're doing, that you're passionate about or that you love doing. So this was the first time when I told her I wanted to make this deck of intimacy cards that she was like, that's a good idea.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
And so I feel like I had the support of my mother for the first time and this encouragement. This is also why I surround myself with loving friends, because I thrive on encouragement. But I do think and she lent me money to do this. So this also really helped to support me, because also living in Berlin, I mean, if I was still living in Los Angeles, I would not have done this. I would have been working nonstop without much time to create anything. And so I really have had 7 years here in Berlin and focused on art. I'm a mushroom artist as well. I would never have done that in Los Angeles. So I had this opportunity to create something that I was like, I would love to impact the world. I don't know if any of you follow human design, but I'm a person who's meant to touch other people and help them. And I think this is it. I think I found it out.
Yeah, I think this is it as well. I mean, I'm even thinking about how I felt in the very beginning of this event. And then I was like, when we got to the very end with creating the handshake together and everything, it was just such a fun experience. And I'm so glad that you have created that. And I'm actually curious about the very beginnings of starting the cards. Like, what was it like building a community around it and also getting people's feedback? Because I could imagine the first time people are probably daunted. Like, I think you've even made a post about this. People get daunted at the thought of intimacy. So what was your process like? Because I know in the entrepreneur sphere, we're always like, get user feedback. What was your user feedback?
Yes, actually, there's somebody here. Where are you? Who was one of the first people that I approached. I went to Temple Haferfeld, as you guys know, this humongous abandoned airport that is the best park in Berlin. Maybe not the best, but it's my backyard. So I would go there and play randomly with people my cards. And this was all in preparation for my Kickstarter campaign. And I knew I needed footage. So
quick interruption. You were just walking up to strangers.
Yeah. Yes. And there was this group, and there were 3 people. It was 2 guys and a girl. And I was like, hey, I have these intimacy cards. Would you like to play? And the 2 guys are like, oh, whoa, what? Like, this is our best friend's girlfriend. I don't know if it's appropriate. And I was like, no, it's fine. Like, I think this will be okay. Trust me. And so we played, and we played a few cards. They did some physical cards. And at the end, I ended up going out, playing with other people and coming back as the sun was setting, and they asked me to join them again. And the girl was like, thank you so much, because they're pretty much my boyfriend's best friends, but now they feel like my brothers. And it was a really beautiful comment. I was like, can you say that again on video? But no, I didn't ruin the moment. But it was beautiful. And they had brought a friend who came tonight. When I showed her the cards, she was like, this isn't just a game. This is a movement. And this really stuck with me. And this is why I talk about the intimacy movement, because I really think that us being face to face is such an important thing. And especially with the rise of AI, for all the time we are on our phones, behind our computer screens, I think this isn't a movement that we should value and prioritize and be open to. Yeah.
Most definitely. And I think there's a more profound impact to be made with this as well, because I think it breaks down a lot of the barriers that we have when we feel like we're judging other people. Because I even think back to the first event, and I think this is, I'm a judgmental person. All right, surprise, surprise. We all are. But I remember like getting there and then being like, I don't know. I don't know about this person, or I don't know about that one. And then you meet them at this level where you just start talking about maybe the emotional one, or you break the ice by doing a physical card and you're laughing together. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is just a person. It's just a person like me and you. And so I was even thinking to myself, I'm going to go through your deck of cards and pick one that I'm always going to ask a question to whenever I go to like a networking event or just anywhere in general, rather than asking, what do you do? Where are you from? I can bring out something a little bit more exciting and interesting to break the ice down.
Yeah, like what do you think happens when we die?
Oh, Lord. Okay, maybe a little lighter. Maybe a little lighter. That was actually the first card I got today. Nice. And I looked at my partner and I was like, I don't know about this. But yeah, and I think also what I would love to dive a little bit more into as well with you is you have emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, but I didn't fully get energetic intimacy. And I remember like my colleague at work today, I was like, oh yeah, we're doing this. It's got the 3 forms of intimacy. He's like, what's energetic? I was like, I'm gonna get back to you tomorrow on that. So I need an answer. What is energetic intimacy?
Yeah. So like I said, the idea was sparked with the eye gaze at the end of the 36 questions to fall in love. And so when I was diving into what kind of cards I would do, I Googled intimacy, and I didn't want to go too far into like other people's cards, but I somehow stumbled upon this one video, and this woman said that she believed in 3 types of intimacy, and it was those 3. And I was like, yeah, that makes so much sense, because I'm all about energy. Like I love it. I am like, this is what would be on my eulogy, is like my energy. This is what I want to leave with people when I die, is that feeling of what I can bring. And I know this is from all of us, and we are all energy. And so I was thinking, how can we do this? So you can't speak, you can't touch, but you can connect. And so eye gazing, like some Reiki practices, some breathing together, reflecting each other. These things, like we're all connecting in this way. And one of them I just made up, it was the hip hip hooray card. And someone has to do something really difficult, like a plank, or I don't know, as many sit-ups as possible. And the other person's like, come on, you could do it. You could do it. You could do it. Like, come on, you could do it. And just being as enthusiastic as possible to see if it actually helps them do it. And I researched that as well. And there's scientific studies that this helps. And so I was like, this is definitely energetic. And I don't know, when I've gone climbing with my partner, and he'll be very encouraging. He's like, you could do it. You could do it. And I wouldn't do it if he wasn't doing that. And I think that this is something that's really supportive and beautiful. And yeah.
And it sounds like a lot of research really went into that process of building this. We've even heard from someone else who's listening right now that they would love to create something like this themselves. So now I'm getting a little bit more into the practicalities of it. If someone like me was like, hey, I want to create a deck of cards, how did you go through that process of it? How did you find a manufacturer? It sounds like you did a lot of research to figure out the types of questions and activities, but how?
Yeah. So the internet, of course. And I looked at a lot of different cards, and then I would just email people and be like, hey, where'd you get your cards done? And
they would actually like respond and tell you.
Yeah, they were really, really nice. I think probably the hardest part in my brain was, how am I going to make a cohesive set of artwork with 66 cards and make it feel like a full deck? And so I really just started painting loads of stuff and drawing, not even thinking that it's going to go with the questions. And this was last winter. And I would just take pictures of everything, and then put it on the computer. And then that was when, as a graphic designer at heart, I just put it all together on the computer, layered, transparencies, all changing, and just made it look, just would make images until I liked them. And then they all started to fall in line and make sense. And then at the end, I had to be more specific with my drawings to make more sense. But then I had a formula. So that was really nice. But I had them manufactured in China.
Oh, cool.
And shipping from China was shipping. If anyone deals with shipping, it's the hardest thing of any business, I think. And of course, and the Kickstarter, raising the money was really intense, and I had anxiety.
Did it work actually with the Kickstarter? Because I heard this kind of a rigged game. I've heard this from a lot of people, where it's actually not so simple to just put something on Kickstarter and make it work. You actually have to buy your own stuff first and then pump it up.
So you have to prepare. Like, this is why I was going to Tempelhof. Okay. You have to make a buzz. So I started the Intimacy Cards on Instagram account because I knew I needed to create something, and I knew I didn't want to just create a product page on Instagram. So I started recording all of my friends and getting people's opinions, having them answer questions like, what is intimacy to you? How does intimacy feel? What are your fears around intimacy? These kinds of questions, because I really wanted it to be a conversation and to redefine intimacy. And I think like this created, I don't know, I'm very proud of my 600 something followers on Instagram, because I wouldn't think people would be so interested in it, but I think it's starting. And when I did the Kickstarter, I literally probably messaged, like DM'd and texted every single person I knew, like friends from kindergarten, like cousins, told like everyone, because I believed in it. And I was like, this is actually something really cool that I'm really, really proud of. And please support me. And I raised like 11,000 euros and enough to print. Congrats. And ship. Yeah. So it was, and I got them to people before Christmas. This is a big goal of mine. So it all worked out, but it was very hard. And it's an all or nothing game with Kickstarter.
Okay. In what sense?
Like, if you don't raise your goal, then you don't get any money.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I thought you at least get what you did.
No, you don't get
So what
anything.
happens to the money?
Then people don't get charged on their credit card. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's an interesting.
That's why there was stress.
Yeah.
That's why I had heart palpitations.
I'm sure, girl. Yeah. Ooh. But my question around that, like, when you look back at the beginning process, was there anything where you'd say, oh, that was a major mistake, avoid that at all costs for anyone who would want to try to do this themselves?
One of the things that people say is ask for very little, because then when you make that little amount, it bumps you up in the algorithm of Kickstarter, and more people will be like, they're a success. They got fully funded in 24 hours or whatever. But I had somebody do this, and they were like, it was really great actually, because it was someone who had a deck of cards, and they had just launched maybe 2 weeks before me, and he said, don't do that. Don't listen to what everyone else says, because I had a lot of people asking me like, oh, you already got funded. I guess you don't need any more money, and can I even still, get in on this? And he's like, yes, I actually need like 10,000 more than I asked for. And so I was very grateful that he gave me this advice, because I asked for what I needed and I got it. And otherwise I wouldn't have probably.
Fair. And one thing that I want to bring into this conversation a bit is the artwork that you've done on it, because that was all your own artwork, and you have this fascination with mushrooms. And I remember at first being like, I don't understand where this is coming from, but it actually intertwines very well with the intimacy cards. So would you like unpack that a little bit?
Yeah. How much time do we have to talk about mushrooms? I got into mushrooms also during the lockdown, because we would go into the forest a lot, and I used to be a more like fashion photographer, portrait photographer, and then I became a mushroom photographer, because you just see these mushrooms and you're like, wait, there's a pink one, there's a purple one, there's a turquoise one, there's a green one, there's like every kind of mushroom, every kind of everything. And then you realize like there's this underground mycelium, and they're just the fruits. They're just the fruiting bodies of the mycelium, and they will save us, you guys. They are going to save the world. They decompose, they're medicine, they're just amazing. And they are the connectors. They are the underground, the World Wood Web. And I do believe that I am like a mushroom. I'm like the mycelium. And yeah, I do believe intimacy is symbiotic, and we all need each other. We all need connections, and we all need to continue creating relationships to feed each other nutrients of love. And yeah, I have wild cards in the deck, and they represent the 6 pillars of intimacy, which I believe are honesty, vulnerability, closeness, openness, and trust.
There we go.
And the 6th one is love. And I believe love is a byproduct of intimacy. So
yeah. And I think that really summarizes the intimacy movement very well as well. And so I think the main question I have to you, which was actually inspired by one of the cards that I took from your deck while I was searching through it last night. What would you define as success now for the intimacy cards and the beyond the surface and the intimacy movement? And what is your vision, like the grander vision at the end of it?
I would love it if there were beyond the surfaces in every city, or not even that, but if everyone had a deck of intimacy cards. It doesn't have to be mine, but that it's something that people wanted to play, and that's something at birthday parties and dinner parties and picnics that people would engage a little deeper and have conversations, and even also be okay with touching each other platonically and playing, and also being aware of energetic intimacy and being aware of your intuition. And I really believe, I don't have this altruistic idea that we're all just going to be in a cuddle puddle, but I think if we check in with ourselves and we are aware of our intuition, how much do you have, like how much social battery can you go deeper with someone, or are you just at a surface level at the moment, but maybe check in later, and just to know the different people that you are connecting with and be aware of that. But as a success, if I can get these out, these after the Kickstarter, I think I'm in 83 cities around the world.
Dope. Congrats.
At least.
That's amazing.
And 25 countries. It went out there.
That's amazing. I think this is also a testament to your grind, because you are open to putting yourself out there. Like even with going to Tempelhof, I'm like, I don't know if I would feel confident enough or comfortable enough to go speak to strangers, So it really speaks to you reaching out, asking people, where did they get them? Like, who is the manufacturer? Where are they getting these things made? Asking people, what did you think of the cards? All of that is really phenomenal that you did that. So it's really a testament to you as well.
Thank you.
And to close out this conversation as well, I'd love to bring it back to all of you that are here. Do you have any questions that you want to ask, or even just insights that you're yearning to know? You don't have to be shy.
Maybe killing the dating game in Berlin.
Why not do the dating game in Berlin?
Yeah, like you'll make a killing.
Oh wait, I have a comment about this. So, so I do believe that if we do beyond the surfaces, things like this, where you just meet a friend, that it's very possible you will meet your significant other through that friend. And even better than a speed dating situation. Like if you're vibing with someone, I think you will get there through that path. Yeah. And it's just much easier. There's no stigma with, you know, speed dating for friends is cool. Like everyone's doing it, you know, but speed dating, you're like, wow, you that desperate? Like, I don't know. But for friends, we're all there to meet new people.
Yeah, I was gonna say also someone on the dating market right now. I'm not going out there. I'm tired. You go in with these expectations and you leave very disappointed most of the time, and then you come home and you're like, well, I could have saved this outfit and this makeup, because why did I leave the house today?
The problem was you should have went with no expectation.
Go with no expectations? Impossible. Exactly. Pack of intimacy cards. Exactly.
They're good for a third date, I would say.
Yeah. Are there any other questions? Yeah.
What was the first card that you made in the deck? Do you remember?
Oh, I don't know if I could answer that. Wait.
Yeah, what was the card that started it all?
I have my little black book, which is where I wrote all my ideas. Oh no, I'm probably sitting on it. It's a tough question to answer. I can look at my little black book later and I can share that with you. I'm sorry, I don't know where it is right now.
No worries.
What's your favorite one?
Ooh. Well, my favorite one, I think now, is the toughest one. And this was inspired also by the lovely Helena who's here. And it's the sabotage card.
What is that one?
I don't know if any of you did it. It's a tough one, yeah. It asks you to make a list of all the things that your inner saboteur says, like all the worst things that you tell yourself, to write it down, and then you give it to the person across from you, and they have to read it out loud to you.
Mm-hmm.
And
that might be worse than the death card.
This is third date material.
Good point. No, so I really think that anyone with this deck of cards, it is a very powerful deck of cards, that you read them all first, know what you're getting into, and you curate that third date or whatever date, and you can totally skip. That's what the wild cards are for. The wild cards are there to pass out, talk about the pillars of intimacy, and then be like, I'm going to use this to not do that card. It's your get out of jail free kind of situation.
Yeah. So another question, yeah.
Yeah, I actually got the sabotage card, so that was quite good actually.
Yeah.
It's quite an icebreaker.
No, but it's really good, and it's really interesting that you've been able to use your art and this format of the cards to kind of illuminate this part of intimacy that's not really well understood by people. So I wanted to know if you think there's another aspect of the human existence aside from intimacy that might be benefited by the format you've used with your cards.
Ooh, well, I have thought in the same vein as intimacy, but maybe with a different target market. I thought it could be really cool to create intimacy cards for families, so between children and their parents, because again, love you, Mom, but we did not have a lot of that. And also my sister, because she is also my sister, raised by our mother, and she has a daughter, and her daughter really craves intimacy, and I feel it, and I feel like they could use this, and I'm sure they're not the only ones. Thanks for that question.
Yeah. You said it's a bit like therapy. Definitely.
Very easy therapy session.
Yeah, I was going to say, it really does break down your barriers, right? I see it, the impact of it, I can see how important that is, because you, like I said, you come in with these preconceived notions of what you think someone's like, what you think they're going through. But when you actually just meet them where they're at, you're like, oh, it was none of that. Now I see you for who you are.
And you're a lot like me.
Yeah, exactly. We're not so different.
Yeah.
What? And I do think that the profound impact of this is more than just come to an event and speed date for friends. It's a greater impact, and it's something that is so needed right now at a time where I feel like we just become more and more polarized. I've got my beliefs, you've got your beliefs, you stay on your side, I stay on my side. We don't need to interact, but how about we just come here and meet each other? How about that? And that's where I really see that this could really be something so profound in so many ways.
Oh, thank you. That feels really good to hear.
Of course. On that note, any last questions or anything that anyone would want to say or add, comments even at this point? Okay. Then I would round it out by saying, please plug yourself one last time to make sure that everyone gets a deck for themselves.
Yes. So you can find the deck of cards at www.Intimacy-Cards.com and or hyphen, I don't know what hyphen, yeah. And please follow me on Instagram at Intimacy Cards, all one word. And I haven't totally gotten into the TikTok yet, but you can find me there at redefining intimacy. And if you're interested in my mushroom art, you can find that at Shrooms. That's 3 H's, 3 O's, SHHHROOOMS. That's shrooms.com or at shrooms on Instagram. Yeah.
Perfect. And same with the podcast. It's on the Up and Up. You can also find that on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, attempting to get into that as well as a whole other. Nothing has ever aged me as much as trying to use TikTok, y'all.
I think I Googled how do you use TikTok.
Same. Oh, yeah. I'm still watching content strategies because what in the world? Anyway, you can find me on all of those as well. So I wanted to say once again, thank you all so much for being here and joining and participating actively. This really means a lot, and this was so fun. So thank you all for being part of the Kickstarter of Season 3 and joining as well for this phenomenal event. And thank you again.
Thank you, Janine.
To all of you that supported.